AI really create a professional logo in just a few seconds? To find out, I gave the exact same logo design prompt to 6 popular AI tools: Nano Banana Pro, Adobe Express AI, Microsoft Designer, Leonardo AI, Ideogram, and Playground AI. The results were honestly surprising. Some tools created logos that looked like they were made by a professional designer. Others struggled with basic details. And one tool completely exceeded my expectations. Here's the challenge. Every tool got the same instructions, the same brand name, and the same design requirements. No special treatment, no manual editing, just pure AI versus AI. In this video, we'll compare the results side by side, look at image quality, creativity, text accuracy, customization options, and overall usability to find out which AI logo generator is actually worth your time. Make sure you stay until the end, because I'll rank all 6 tools from worst to best. Before testing the AI tools, I needed a prompt that would be challenging enough to separate the good logo generators from the great ones. So instead of using a simple prompt like "create a bank logo," I created a detailed design brief for a fictional financial institution called Bank of Malika. The prompt specified everything a professional designer would normally receive from a client. It included the brand name, color palette, design style, typography requirements, financial symbolism, and even where the logo would be used, from mobile banking apps to ATM branding and corporate signage. I specifically requested a premium banking identity using deep blue and emerald green, along with elements that communicate trust, security, growth, and financial success. The goal wasn't just to see which AI could generate a nice-looking image. I wanted to find out which tool could actually follow detailed instructions and create a logo that feels like it belongs to a real international bank. Most AI image generators can create something visually attractive. The real challenge is understanding branding requirements, handling typography correctly, and delivering a logo that looks professional enough for a real business. With the prompt ready, it was time to put all 6 AI tools to the test. Before we begin, there's one important thing to mention about Microsoft Designer. Unlike some of the other AI tools in this comparison, Microsoft Designer has a limit on how much text can be entered into the prompt box. Because of that, I wasn't able to use the complete design brief that I showed earlier. To keep the test as fair as possible, I shortened the prompt while preserving the most important requirements, including the bank name, color scheme, modern banking style, and key branding elements. So if Microsoft Designer misses some of the finer details from the original brief, that may be partly due to the prompt limitations rather than the AI's design capabilities alone. With that in mind, let's take a look at the result. At first glance, the logo looks clean and professional, and the icon clearly incorporates the letter M, which matches the brief for Bank of Malika. However, when we look closer, a few weaknesses start to appear. The biggest issue is the typography. Instead of the modern sans serif font requested in the prompt, Microsoft Designer chose a traditional serif font. While it does give the logo a formal appearance, it feels more like a law firm or luxury hotel than a modern banking institution. The icon itself is well balanced and visually appealing, but it's also fairly generic. It resembles many existing fintech and cryptocurrency logos, which could make it difficult for the brand to stand out in a competitive market. Another limitation is that the logo presentation feels more like a finished marketing graphic than a true vector logo concept. For a professional banking brand, I would expect stronger integration between the icon and wordmark, along with more originality in the overall identity. On the positive side, the logo is clean, readable, and instantly communicates trust and stability. But compared to what a professional designer might create, it doesn't fully capture the premium, globally competitive banking image described in the prompt. Overall, Microsoft Designer delivered a decent result, but it feels safe rather than exceptional. Let's see if the next AI tool can do better. Next up is Playground AI. Unlike Microsoft Designer, Playground AI allowed me to use the complete prompt without any character limitations. That means it had access to all of the branding requirements, typography instructions, color specifications, and design details from the original brief. Looking at the result, the first thing that stands out is the icon. Playground did a good job creating a clean and recognizable symbol. The logo mark clearly resembles the letter M, and it also hints at financial stability and strength through its shield-like structure. The blue and green color combination follows the brief nicely and gives the design a trustworthy banking feel. However, this is where the positives start to fade. The typography is probably the weakest part of the design. The font feels generic and lacks the premium character I would expect from a modern financial institution. It gets the job done from a readability perspective, but it doesn't feel distinctive, elegant, or memorable. Another issue is the relationship between the icon and the text. They almost look like they came from two different design projects. The icon feels modern and refined, while the typography feels basic and unfinished. As a result, the overall brand identity lacks cohesion. To Playground's credit, it successfully followed the prompt and delivered a clean logo with the correct company name, colors, and financial theme. But for a bank trying to project prestige and global credibility, the final result feels more like a solid draft than a finished professional brand identity. So far, Playground performs slightly better in prompt adherence, but the typography keeps it from being a standout winner. Next up is Adobe Express AI. Before looking at the result, there's something important to mention. Just like Microsoft Designer, Adobe Express has a character limit for prompts. That meant I couldn't use the full design brief and had to shorten it while keeping the most important requirements. Even with the shorter prompt, I expected Adobe Express to create a clean and professional banking logo. Unfortunately, this one wasn't my favorite. The first thing I noticed was the icon. Adobe Express clearly understood that this was a banking logo and tried to include traditional financial symbols like pillars and institutional architecture. However, the result feels more like a government agency, university, or insurance company than a modern bank. The typography is another weak point. Instead of the clean, premium look I was hoping for, the text feels dated and doesn't match the modern brand identity described in the prompt. And then there's the biggest issue. The AI-generated extra text underneath the logo that doesn't even make sense. For logo design, text accuracy is incredibly important, so mistakes like this can quickly make the design feel unprofessional. I also think the icon is trying to do too much at once. There are several different shapes and ideas competing for attention, which makes the logo less memorable than it should be. To be fair, Adobe Express did use the right color palette and followed the general banking theme. But overall, this logo feels more like a rough concept than something a real financial institution would use. So far, Adobe Express lands near the bottom of my rankings. Let's move on and see if the next AI tool can deliver something more impressive. And now it's time to test Nano Banana Inside Flow. At first glance, the result is already a noticeable improvement over Adobe Express. The biggest strength here is the icon design. Instead of relying on generic banking symbols like pillars or buildings, Nano Banana created a custom mark that combines the letter M with shield-like shapes. That immediately makes the logo feel more modern, distinctive, and relevant to a financial institution. I also like the overall simplicity. The design feels focused and intentional. There aren't a lot of unnecessary elements competing for attention, which makes the logo easier to recognize and remember. The color palette works well too. The dark blue communicates trust and professionalism, while the green accents add a sense of growth and financial success. These are exactly the kinds of qualities you'd expect from a banking brand. Typography is another area where Nano Banana performed better. The text is clean, readable, and feels much more aligned with a modern corporate identity. One thing that really stands out is text accuracy. Unlike some of the other AI tools I've tested, Nano Banana correctly generated the company name and supporting text. That may sound simple, but accurate typography is one of the hardest challenges for AI-generated logos, so it's a significant advantage. That said, the design isn't perfect. The icon still feels a little busy in certain areas, especially where multiple shapes intersect to form the letter M. A professional designer would probably refine the spacing and proportions further to improve clarity at smaller sizes. Even with that criticism, This is the first result so far that genuinely looks close to something a startup bank or fintech company could actually use as a foundation for a real brand identity. Overall, Nano Banana delivered a clean, professional, and visually appealing logo. It's not quite at the level of a polished agency-designed logo, but compared to the tools I've tested so far, this is one of the strongest results yet. For now, Nano Banana moves near the top of my rankings. Let's see whether the next AI logo generator can beat it. Next up is Leonardo AI. And I have to say, this is probably the strongest result I've seen so far. The first thing that stands out is the balance between simplicity and symbolism. Leonardo created a logo that combines the letter M, banking pillars, a shield, and growth bars, all without making the design feel cluttered. Compared to previous tools, the icon feels more intentional and professionally structured. It immediately communicates trust, security, and financial growth, which are exactly the qualities a bank wants to project. The typography is also much stronger. The company name is clean, readable, and has a more premium feel. I especially like the subtle use of blue and green, which helps create visual interest without becoming distracting. Another pleasant surprise is the tagline. Unlike many AI-generated logos, where the extra text is often gibberish, Leonardo produced a tagline that actually makes sense and fits the brand. Of course, it's not perfect. The icon still relies on some common banking design elements, so it doesn't feel completely unique. A professional designer would likely simplify it further and develop a more distinctive visual identity. But overall, Leonardo delivered a logo that looks polished, professional, and surprisingly close to something a real financial institution could use. At this point, Leonardo takes the #1 spot in my rankings, and it sets a very high bar for the remaining AI tools to beat. Next up is Ideogram, and this is where things get really interesting. Out of the 4 options, I genuinely liked 2 of them. What impressed me most was the overall level of professionalism. The logos looked clean, modern, and much closer to what you'd expect from a real branding project rather than an AI-generated concept. The icons were well balanced, the typography felt intentional, and the layouts had a strong sense of visual hierarchy. Nothing felt random or thrown together. Ideogram also handled text remarkably well. The company name was accurate, readable, and integrated naturally into the design. That's something many AI logo generators still struggle with. Another strength was variety. Instead of giving me 4 nearly identical logos, Ideogram explored different approaches while still staying true to the banking theme and brand requirements. Of course, not every concept was a winner. 2 of the options felt stronger than the others. But that's completely normal. Even professional designers create multiple concepts, knowing that some will be better than others. Overall, Ideogram produced the most polished and professional results I've seen so far. For the first time, I could easily imagine selecting one of these logos, making a few refinements, and using it as the foundation of a real brand. At this point, Ideogram moves to the top of my rankings and becomes the new benchmark that every remaining AI tool has to beat. After testing all 6 AI logo generators with the same banking brief, here's the final ranking from worst to best. 6th, Adobe Express AI. Understood the banking theme, but struggled with typography and clean logo output. 5th, Microsoft Designer. Decent ideas, but limited flexibility and lacked overall polish. 4th, Playground. Creative concepts and nice visuals, but not refined enough for real branding. 3rd, Nano Banana. Surprisingly strong. Modern, memorable icon design with a professional feel. 2nd, Leonardo AI. Very clean and balanced outputs with strong branding and symbol use. 1st, Ideogram. The clear winner, most professional results, excellent typography, and the closest to real-world logo design. That's the final ranking. Each tool has its strengths, but Ideogram clearly leads the way for professional logo design. If you enjoyed this comparison, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.